You also made this comment, and it's the one I really want to touch on. You helped me in some of my lowest of lows and toughest things I've gone through in my life. What were those lows and how did it help you?
Do we have some tissues here? I don't know if you know I'm renowned for getting emotional.
That's okay. Mel Hickey, welcome to Shaped. Very excited to have you on and hear about not only your football career, but also the things that have defined you throughout your life, particularly more recently having a little boy come into your world. But the place that we do love to start with our guests is effectively your upbringing, what life looked like as a kid growing up. I know you grew up in Mildura.
Yep.
Brothers, sisters, mum and dad.
Yeah, first of all, thanks so much for having me. Yeah, it's great to be able to have a bit of a chat. I grew up, so just out of Mildura, Irimple, about 15 minutes out of town, so we had about 6 acres. Dad had some sultanas that he was sort of growing, had a little orchard, and 2 sisters, older and a younger sister, and then mum and dad, so pretty kind of idealistic, upbringing, thinking about it now, that I'm a lot older. But just... land to be able to cruise around on, like learning how to ride motorbikes, and Dad taught us how to drive the tractor and riding bikes and channel up the road, catching yabbies and things. Yeah, it was pretty cool.
Was the Sultana farm the primary work
no,
that Mum
just,
or Dad did?
That was Dad's, I guess, hobby. Yeah, just a bit of extra money.
What did he do?
He was a linesman for Telstra. So,
I
think 30-something years in the same job, which... blows my mind these days that people did that, but it
was kind of the way it was.
Yeah, it was
back then.
You want security and consistency. Yeah,
absolutely. How old were you when you left Mildura or Ilrimple?
Irimple.
Sorry,
that's right.
And came to the big smoke.
Yeah, the big smoke. I moved up when I was 18, so finished year 12 and got into uni, and I was. Yeah, it was a big culture shock for me.
Yeah.
From 6 acres into an apartment block in East Melbourne on Victoria Parade. So you could almost say the polar opposite experiences. Very small little apartment, no backyard. And right into the thrust of Smith Street was like our main drag. And getting offered drugs as I'm walking up the street was just...
a whole new experience.
It blew my mind, yeah.
What were you studying when you came into Melbourne?
I studied Bachelor of Health Science.
Yep.
Health Sciences, yeah.
Love it?
I didn't really. I always wanted to be a physio and I didn't quite get enough. So then that was sort of the goal, was to do that and then, get better marks and then get across. So that didn't happen.
Talk about your footy journey. At what age were you when you started playing footy?
So I did a little bit in like primary school with the boys and even in high school we'd sort of have one game a year with all the girls against another.
That was as good as it got at that time, right?
Yeah, that was the peak.
Does it blow your mind about where footy is now as to what you grew up with?
Oh, it's incredible. Like, your daughters obviously play now, but I was a footy obsessed kid, and even now I was like, Mum, why didn't you even think just to take me down there? Like, I know it wasn't what was sort of done, but surely if this kid's like, I'm sleeping in my footy jumper and got a little mouth guard and I was just obsessed with it. But, I just play with my cousins and stuff in the backyard. That was about the extent.
Did you just accept it back then that, typically footy wasn't for girls?
Yeah.
Beyond, I think it was 12 years old back in the day?
Yeah, I think so. I actually remember wanting to be a boy for a while because I was like, I just want to play footy. Why can't I do this? Yeah, but I really enjoyed playing netball, so I sort of threw myself into that as much as possible. But, it just wasn't something that people thought of.
Yeah. So the Darebin Falcons is your first club you start playing for when you were in Melbourne?
Yeah.
Was that pretty early on in the scene after the move down? Or
no, so I was 24 when I was down here. So I was playing netball and living out near kind of Eltham, and that's where I met Daisy Pearce. She was working at her mum's cafe, and I think I'd seen her in one of those Legends games she must have played. I was like, oh. And we just got chatting about footy, and she's like, why don't you come down and come to pre-season? And and so I'm sort of doing netball and footy for that first year, and then netball quickly dropped away and footy became the obsession. Yeah.
How quick did it become a realisation that there was going to be a career path for women in footy? I think 2016, 17.
I'm terrible with dates, and
so am I. So that's why I'm asking.
I feel like Gil brought it in, and I think the season came in 2017. I think he announced it maybe the year before, because it was always spoken about. Maybe 2020 was sort of the goalpost for where they wanted it to start, and he was really bold in saying, "Let's bring it forward. Let's make this happen." I feel like he maybe announced it the year before. And we'd had the exhibition games. They were sort of like, drip feeding us little bits of kind of like this next level thing. And obviously we had national champs and stuff and playing for Vic before that. But yeah, it was probably only really once Gil said that it's like, this is happening, that we all started to think about, wow, this is real.
What was it like being picked up by Melbourne as a marquee player, effectively? One of the Ridgy-Diggies. You effectively have become a stalwart for where women's footy is now. I think you were All-Australian in 2017, then make a move from the Ds to the Cats.
Yeah.
And are the inaugural skipper. Was that always something that you aspired to be, or was it something that just came with experience, obviously talent, and leadership qualities?
I think it was a bit of a slow progression, yeah. I'm obviously starting a bit later, and I just feel so grateful to have landed at a club like Darebin where, the players that I was surrounded with now are kind of all these big names that everyone knows in the women's games.
Yeah.
They're all just my teammates. So I definitely just followed along with them and was had so much amazing leadership around me. So I think I just sort of slowly took on different bits of those people. Obviously, Daisy was our captain at Darebin for so many years and then at Melbourne. And then, I don't know if it's you shift towards the end of your career that you start to think less about you and get more satisfaction from, I guess, bringing the younger players along with you and mentoring them. And I guess I was just finding myself being drawn to more of that and getting a lot of fulfillment, from doing that. And I think I was vice captain at the Ds, co-vice captain. Yeah, and so it was maybe like, okay, maybe I can do this leadership thing. And yeah.
What was the greatest challenge? I've had a couple of conversations with a number of AFLW girls that are either in a leadership position or, they often speak about there's relationships within the team. And given that hasn't happened in my football journey, that must throw up some challenges as captain, but also when you're leading a team, I mean, naturally in relationships, there's bickering, there's fighting, there's things that go on. Was that one of the greatest challenges as captain?
Not really, to be honest. I think, again, going back to all those years at Darebin, it was so just common. There was so many relationships within the team. And again, like any workplace, there's just complexities of, some people like each other, some people don't. But once we hit the training track or the field, everyone sort of comes together. So I actually can't remember there being, a particular issue around that. I'm sure it's happened across the AFLW space, but thankfully it's not something I had to necessarily navigate, in my time as a leader.
You touched on being captain and realising that you actually started to find more joy in getting the best out of others. Was that, I know you went through some challenging times with injury and so forth, was that the cornerstone of realising that because you couldn't actually go out and participate? You had an ACL.
Yeah. No, it probably happened a little bit before that. Might have been more when I started to not be as good as a footballer. When you're like, okay, well, my contribution no longer is like this. It's probably over here. I think I was 32 when I played my first game in AFLW. So most male players are starting to retire. Look at retirement then. So, obviously my body, I felt like I could still do in some aspects what I wanted to, but it was starting to, not get as, I can't even find the word, but my contribution wasn't, as a possession winner and, turning a game in that way. It was more, my leadership, my voice, bringing other players up and I guess teaching craft as well.
Yeah. Was there any particular moment or story that you can share where, effectively a sense of pride came into you because it wasn't about you and it wasn't necessarily about an individual, or maybe it was that you had helped them on their journey with life outside or on the field?
Yeah, I remember, so our D's, our very first game, first goal was Jazzy Grierson. So she'd been a young player I'd worked with at a gym that I'd worked at for a while and sort of, supported and mentored her. And I just remember when she kicked that goal running over, and the joy that I felt was probably nothing that I'd experienced before.
Yeah.
kicking a goal yourself or, doing something individually. It was just like, yeah, I can even picture the photo now. There's a photo of it, just me running over, just like screaming in her face. And yeah, just the joy. And not that I, did anything to contribute to that moment, but yeah, I don't know. They just felt like there was some sort of connection of that.
You obviously have a deep sense of purpose with regards to the journey that AFLW or women's sport in general, I think that's what I've loved about the AFLW journey is that it's arrived in a bigger way, not just impacting footy itself. It's kind of wider than that. And the Matildas obviously have helped with that as well. Like, is there a part of you that wishes you were that little bit younger or that you were given that opportunity earlier on? Like, is there a party that resents the fact that it wasn't how it is now?
Yeah, not resents, but there's times where I just think, geez, I would have loved to have been 22, not 32 when it started. Because
as good as it was, income wasn't great. Even if you are a marquee player, it's still not at the level of where I assume you were still working another job at different stages. So what were you doing? Not
even the money though. It was just more like amazing coaching and like you got to go and, go to the gym was your job. Like I love going to the gym, but like that was part of being an athlete and I was like, how cool would this be if I could have done it for longer? And I think also when my mind goes that way, I also think of all the players before me that never got to play even one game of AFLW. So I was like, you got 4 seasons. That was still, and I absolutely loved, every moment of that. So yeah, you can kind of swing along that spectrum, but, wish I was 10 years younger, but also so grateful that I got any time.
You retired in 2020 and as part of your post, you said you loved the competitive nature. You loved that you could go out there on the field and be totally different to the person that you are off it. Does that mean you're a little bit like psycho?
On the field?
I think that was the same as me. You also made this comment, and it's the one I really want to touch on. You helped me in some of my lowest of lows and toughest things I've gone through in my life. What were those lows and how did it help you?
Do we have some tissues here? I don't know if I'm renowned for getting emotional.
That's okay. That's what we're about.
Yeah, I think the nature of footy and being able to be so, focused on something and feeling purpose and, that camaraderie you get with the team. Like I didn't experience that in netball, so I feel like that really helped me. My dad went through a really significant health event about 10 years ago. So he was in a fun run, had a cardiac arrest, and because he was out for so long, he didn't get oxygen going to his brain enough. So he got an acquired brain injury. So he was in a coma for a week. So we're up there and then quite a long rehab journey up to Melbourne here from, I can't remember how many months in a rehab facility and then sort of shifted back home. So yeah, that was probably one of the more significant challenges that football helped me kind of get through.
What's that like for a family? I assume like me, your dad is someone you look up to, you ask questions, he's your hero, he's someone who's unbreakable. Is that a fair way of particularly coming from?
Never caught a cold, just this 6'1".
What's it like to experience that? And I'm sure, I'm just trying to reflect on my own journey. I remember my dad cut his fingers off and it was the first time I saw him cry because he felt like he'd let the family down.
Yeah.
Was there elements of that to his journey that was part of the challenge?
Yeah, it's so hard. So he passed away 5 weeks ago. So we've also sort of had that, like the 10 years of an illness and then like losing him recently as well. So it's just been a big reflection kind of space that we've kind of all been in because that 10 years, I remember reading something called ambiguous loss because it's this sort of specific kind of grief where like they're obviously still with us. So, there's somebody there, they're not the same. And so you're kind of going through this really strange kind of grief and it kind of comes and goes and you're grateful for lots of it, but then you're missing so much of it. So I think he was such a practical person. So like, if your tyre was flat, give Dad a call, like, talk me through this. Every footy game he'd text me or
feedback,
before
good or bad.
and after. All of that sort of stuff. So, that they're probably the little bits that I missed and, even his voice changed after. And so it was just such a significant thing. And, Dad was about to retire and they're about to shift to like their dream property. Mum then became his full-time carer, and so just changed absolutely everything. Yeah, for our whole
Did
family.
it teach you anything about yourself through that time?
Yeah,
upon reflection.
Yeah,
I actually didn't even realise that you'd lost him. So
yeah,
sorry to hear of your loss.
Thank you. Yeah, it's been tough. It was about 5 weeks ago now. So yeah, I don't know. I think like I've grappled, like I said, with that sort of ambiguous loss for so long, and got to a point where I was, really, I guess I'd accepted what had happened and where we were, and really chose to enjoy, and obviously having had my son River 6 months ago, and he's got my dad's middle name, and just seeing Dad's joy in all of his grandchildren. He's got 5. Even that was a nice kind of shift in his illness. But what did I learn? Just the power of family. I think my sisters and my mum, like the 4 of us, were pretty rock solid, and it's just made us even more rock solid. And some of the conversations we've had to have over time. Just how strong, humans can be, and my mum in particular, like to become a full-time carer when you're about to transition into this phase. And, I used to go and look after Dad for a night or two, and, multiple wake-ups. And, she just has been incredible, what she's been able to do, and just what love can, I guess, what it does.
What's your mum's name?
Linda.
Sending our love to Linda.
Yeah.
Obviously an amazing person and an amazing role model for you guys. I want to talk. We have had Moana Hope on the podcast previously, and she touched on the challenges of sexuality and the feedback that she received, often negative and brutal and quite revolting at different stages. Is that something that is common for same-sex relationships across the AFLW, no matter who you are?
To get to have homophobia?
Yeah.
I must admit, I mean, I'm not as public, like obviously Moana Hope has a bigger profile than what I do, but I must admit, I don't think I remember my partner and I, Danielle, were walking in the Geelong waterfront. It was for the first time I'd ever had somebody yell out something to us. So, I'm trying to think.
Does it blow your mind when that happens?
Yeah, it does. And even, more
this
recently, there's been AFL players using it against each other. I'm just like, how is this something we're doing in 24, 25? It's just, I don't know. I mean, and obviously we see, racism as well. All of that, I just don't understand why people feel the need to, get on social media or whatever it is, and they're just so faceless, just being able to, like, I don't think they'd be able to come up to somebody and say it to their face. I don't know. It's just this horrible part of society and, social media more broadly.
You touched on your son, River, and Danielle.
Yeah.
I mean, that journey of parenthood, I'm sure, is a challenge, particularly going through IVF process. What was that like, first and foremost? I know you carried River.
Yeah.
First and foremost, how in a same-sex relationship, how do you come to the decision of who will or won't carry your child?
I think it's different for everyone, but I'm just older, so it was like I get to go first because that was sort of.
And is that part of the deal? It's kind of like, well, the plan is that we'll have multiple if we can.
Yeah, I think for us, we want
without sharing your
each.
deep dark secrets.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, everyone's different. Like, some people, one partner will carry them all, and maybe they'll share eggs or embryo. But for us, we'll have the same donor, and both of us are planning to carry one. So obviously we got to have River. And
what was that experience like for you? I mean, I firsthand got to see my wife carry our 3 wonderful children, and no pregnancy is the same. There's obviously people that get really sick.
Yeah.
And you work through this process of effectively 40 weeks, and it's kind of like the first 6 weeks you're hoping that you are pregnant.
Yeah.
Then you get to 12 weeks and you do all the tests that kind of tell you whether there's a good chance or a bad chance of survival, or that you have made it to that checkpoint. Then at 20 weeks you find out, it used to be back in my day, you find out, I think you do further testing about the chances of Down syndrome and all those kind of things. I think that happens earlier nowadays anyway.
Yeah.
And then you kind of get to 26 weeks and it's like, oh, if I happen to have a premature baby, there's a greater chance of survival.
Yeah.
Then you get to 30 weeks and it's like, I just want this thing out of me. And then you actually get to the day and there's this whole new element of, and I didn't even have the baby. So for you, from your perspective, did you love the journey of being pregnant? What was it like going through IVF?
Yeah, I think, so our IVF journey, we probably initially went and saw our specialist and got all the tests and all the stuff that you had to do to even be able to start counselling and all that sort of thing. And because it was just after COVID, there was actually quite a backlog, so we couldn't get access to a donor list for almost 12 months. So
yeah, right.
By the time we got access, then we sort of started the process, then it was another 12 months until we became pregnant. So what do we do? A couple of IUIs, 2 egg collections, I think maybe 5 embryo transfers in the end. And I'm going through this quickly, but this is obviously 12 months
process,
of just
ups and downs of emotion.
And, you know, like 1 month is a failure and then you've got to sort of like G yourself back up for the next one. And yeah, it's an emotional roller coaster, and even, you know, almost liken it to footy where you're kind of prepping for game day, because that, you know, in the transfer, and then you're getting your body ready and visualizing and trying to, you know, you're drawing upon resilience and all of these things, which I think my football career definitely helped me be able to manage and go through that, because it was, and now that we've obviously got River, it feels like this distant thing that obviously doesn't feel as painful, but when you're in it, it's full hard. On. Yeah.
What did you learn about yourself during that time? And obviously saying that you can call on your experiences from whether it's injury and a rehab process and dusting yourself off after disappointment, picking yourself back up and having a bit of perspective, I assume. What did you learn about yourself? What was the number one thing you learned about yourself?
I think I knew I was resilient, but I think just that ability, and I don't know if it's because I'm a Sagittarius, but just to be able to remain positive.
Yeah.
You know, I was even first IUI, I'm like, we've got this. This is just going to happen first go. But it didn't happen. And I was like, oh, okay, first embryo transfer. So just that ability to stay really positive and not Pollyanna, but just, trying to look at always that glass half full.
And what about Danielle? Did you learn anything about Danielle? Because relationships are brilliant, but they're also, you know, you're forever learning about each other and making sure that you can help each other grow and prosper and do everything right. Was there anything through that time that you learned about her that maybe you didn't know previous?
I think I knew we were a great team, but probably just reiterated, you know, an amazing partner and support and teammate. And, you know, obviously at different times we had to support each other, and we were all kind of we were both going through different things at different times, you know, the one sort of physically going through it, and obviously she, as the other potential parent, was going through things. So just what an incredible person and partner. And I think, you know, now that we've got River, you do need it to have a great teammate, because you get tested, and like when you're tired and it's like 2 a.m. and, you know, you haven't had much sleep, it's like, okay, well, are you the person that's going to be in the trenches with me, or are we going to turn upon each other? And
it's very much a team game.
Yes.
There's no doubt about that. You touched on in your retirement speech about the one thing you learnt was that you're enough. And we've had a number of guests previously talk about those kind of things. I reflect on Ash Barty. She spoke about, you know, being this young kid, having everyone tell her she was going to be the next greatest thing, but never truly believing that she was enough as she is. When did you learn that who you are and how you are and what you do with life is enough? Was there a realization point?
Not really. I think like age just definitely helps. I think, you know, your 20s are still a bit of a brutal process. And I think your 30s, and it just football, just for me, like I said, I just felt like I was somebody else when I took on that field. I wasn't overly a confident person off the field. But once I got on the field, for some reason, I just sort of was able to embody this person. And then I think over time, that confidence then translated back to the person off the field. And I truly think football
instilled that in.
Yeah, helped me. I don't know if it's like self-worth or purpose, or how it came together, or if it just did allow me to be like, well, who you are is enough. And
It's funny you say that, because there's so many athletes that I've had conversations with where people go, when I'm on the field, I felt like there was this persona, and all I ever wanted to do was be the person that I wasn't on the field. I was just the person. I was Trent away from footy.
Yeah.
So it's so interesting that through your journey, and maybe it was a maturity thing and the age that you managed to play at the top level, where you had this realization where it's like, well, I know that I'm a great person, but footy almost allowed you to believe that and show up in a way.
I don't know if it just sort of completed me, because it was this like little childhood dream that was realised. And, because I worked really hard, I did want to be a marquee player, so I worked really hard. And, when you set a goal, I think integrity with self is a big part of how you achieve confidence. And, if I set a session, I'd go and do it. And if I was going to eat a certain way, then I'd do it. And I think that integrity with myself, with football as the goal, really helped me build confidence over time, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. No doubt about it. Going back to the I am enough statement, how important do you think it is to instill that kind of thought process now that you have a little man in your life? Because I sit here with 3 kids and I go, oh my God, what is life going to look like in 5 or 10 years' time? And what are they going to be navigating that maybe we haven't had to so far? But if there's one thing that they can come back to, is that they are genuinely enough as they are.
Yeah.
How do you think you'll be able to bring that to life? I'm speaking probably out of school because he's only 6 months old. But I mean, I assume there's times in your life where you're like, I wonder what it'll look like in 2, 3, 5, 10 years' time.
Yeah, I think, and I haven't had to think a lot about this because at the moment it's like
in
making sure he's feeding and sleeping and napping changes. It's simple, but it's hard. But I think, I guess just what's helped me over the journey is allowing him to, have his interests and not be kind of curved too much to what maybe I want or what Danielle wants. But, if he wants to be an artist, then, kind of instilling that's okay for him, I guess.
Go and chase it,
like I used to have to be bribed to go to dancing because I didn't want to go to dancing, but for some reason that was something that I felt like I should have to do. And even with my sexuality, it was something that I didn't want to accept for such a long time. So, I guess I just want him to have a really strong sense of who he is and that that's okay, whatever it is, whether it's the same as what I like or Danielle likes or our family likes. But, he can be who he is.
I love that.
Yeah.
You touched on sexuality and not necessarily coming to terms with that. How old were you when you realised? Is that the right word?
I think so. Yeah.
And how old were you when you told people?
I think I realised I had a very unhealthy obsession with Martina Hingis. There was one like Australian Open where I was like just obsessed with her, and I was like, this feels like more than just a fan.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I don't know, I must have been 15, 16, I guess.
I was more an Anna Kournikova.
Oh, yeah. I can appreciate that too. Yeah. And I just remember, I think my sisters were teasing me. I maybe had like, I don't know. And then I was just like, okay, well, I've got to shut that part down. And like, I kind of knew that it was something more. And
how old
it was
were you?
Different, maybe 15 or 16. Yeah. And then when I probably started telling, and I had my first relationship, I was maybe 21.
Yeah, okay.
And so, I told my family then. Yeah, so it was quite a long time.
Was that a hard thing to do for someone at 21, or were you just kind of like, it is what it is? And
I think I sort of slowly drip fed it through the family. Like I told my older sister first. I think I was living with her, or maybe we were closest at that time, and just sort of gauged. I think I might have told her, I said, I held this girl's hand, and she's like, oh yeah, that's cool, that's fine. And like, I think I want to kiss her. She's like, yeah, that's cool. Do you know? And like, I think as your older sister, you kind of like getting that almost reassurance that that's okay. And she was totally cool about it. So I was like, okay, well, this is a thing. And then, I think I told my younger sister and she was totally cool with it. And then told mum and asked her if she could tell dad. And then he called me and he just was in tears. He's like, I'd love you if you killed somebody. So I think because that went so well,
it made it easy.
And all the fears that I had. And it was sort of like, okay, well, you don't need to.
Do you remember the underlying fear that you did have with?
No.
I hate the term coming out because you are who you are, right?
Yeah.
You shouldn't have to come out.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think I had
fear?
a conscious thing. I guess it's just rejection, isn't it?
Yeah.
That it's like, well, I'm something different, or I'm not the same as, most other people. I think one of my cousins was gay. Maybe a couple of people in high school were, but like, especially being in a country town, it just felt like it was so foreign. And, I think homophobia was a bit more rife back then too. So it was sort of like, this is not a good thing. This is actually like, you don't want to be that.
Yeah.
So I think that was the messaging that I'd always had, subtly. And so I was like, well, why would I want to, accept that part of me? Because, society's telling me that's probably not something that is good.
That is a challenge.
Yeah.
It's a big challenge.
Yeah.
Moving from country town into Melbourne, going on this pretty wild journey, really, when you think about it, and then being in a relationship, having a child, what do you think with regards to relationships? I mean, there's probably people you still have great relationships from your upbringing. There's people that have been there along the journey. What do you think is the number one key to having a great friendship or relationship?
Wow. I think it's authenticity and maybe genuine care. And I think strong friendships are built off connection. And so that naturally needs to have a bit of give and take. So, I've had friendships in the past where it's like, I feel like I've been really vulnerable and given, and that person doesn't give back. And then for some reason that connection, that closeness just never really went to the next level. Whereas I think, it has to be this sort of ability to, share vulnerabilities, be authentic. And when it comes back, it's like this really, really special. Yeah. Yeah. Not intimate's not the right word, but there's just something that's so close.
It's almost a deeper level.
Deeper, yes, that's a great word.
That's very nice. I want to talk to you about the transition. So you finish up football, you step into some development and coaching roles. Your role currently is with the Geelong Falcons in a development role as well.
Yeah, so Geelong Falcons girls head coach, and then I was coach of the Vic Country as well, head coach of that.
How do you find that from an experience point of view, and the transition of, I'm sure, leadership skills of captaining a young group at the Cats to now instilling those behaviours and lessons? But what's it like shifting from player and captain to coach?
It's so hard to sometimes. Well, I found especially at the start to articulate like what you know and what you just do. Like I'm sure your midfield craft you just do. Like you don't think, oh, I've got to. You don't break it down so much.
Yeah.
So
it's instinctive more.
Yeah, and so to kind of strip back and be like, okay, well, what do I actually do here to in a contested market? What am I actually doing to try to get the odds in my favour? And so at the start, it was like, really, how do I break this down and simplify it, and then make it easy to understand and teach. And so that was probably the hard part to start with, is like all these instinctive things. How do I actually make it coach and pare it back? And I think for me, I wanted to stay connected to the game because I just loved it so much. So coaching was just a really nice way to do that. Kept get to have my leadership skills and keep that going. And then craft was something that, especially once I went to Melbourne, mixed in here, the head coach there was big on teaching us craft, and was something I'd never really experienced at Darebin when we had like one coach of 30 girls. So to have it broken down, that was a part of footy that I really loved, like just learning the fundamentals in craft, and so like passing that on.
Yeah, I love that. What's the greatest challenge with, I mean, you have a range of, they're effectively kids or teens, and kids are just, I shouldn't say they're different. They're just growing up in a different world.
Yeah.
What's the greatest challenge with having a group of young women, girls? What do we call them?
Girls? Yeah.
Girls?
Yeah.
And taking them on this journey of not just professional sport, but life, because I assume in many ways you become an idol or a female figure in their world, where they share with you things that are going on, not just on their football journey, but also their lives.
Yeah. It feels like a big privilege and responsibility. I think that's something it's like important to be aware of when you are in that position, because they are sponges and they're watching you, and how you conduct yourself with the trainer and the opposition coach. Like I think they're watching everything, so you do have to be aware of what kind of position you hold. And I don't know, I don't think there's a one thing. Like you would know, like every other team, everyone's a little bit different, what makes them tick, or what, you know, what their home environment's like, what they're going through, like whether there's stuff happening at school or at home. So I just think to be able to be approachable so that, you know, if there is something going on for that person, that player, they can come to me, or our well-being. I think that's something that was really important to me, was making sure that I'm approachable enough that they can come to me or come to somebody within the team to be able to have those conversations. I think a big theme is a lot of parents get in the way of, you know, their young person's journey. It's like, this is not your, and just the analysis in the car, and you can just see they're kind of dreading getting into the car on the way home. And they're the ones I really feel for.
Yeah, that must be hard. Time for you to give me some advice.
Yeah.
I've got 2 girls.
Coach Trent in the car.
they're not necessarily teens yet, but it feels like kids kind of become teenagers before they actually are teenagers these days. As a dad with girls that love sport, what would be the best piece of advice you've either seen, witnessed, or could give someone like me to instill the right behaviours in my girls? Because I'm one of those people that doesn't want to put any pressure on. You just do it if you love it. If you want my advice or feedback, I'm happy to give it, but I'm not going to push it down your throat. I think that's a great
approach, yeah. I think just being there to be that support, and, again, like that open door policy, or being approachable, that they know if, they want to talk to you, they can, or if they just want you to be dad to come and support and cheer for you, that's enough pom-poms as well. Yeah.
Okay, that's good advice. I'll keep trying my best. It does get hard sometimes.
Yeah, I bet.
You know, that position, you should actually just, like, instead of playing on your person, you should play 5 metres in front. No, we won't digress in there. But, I mean, you've been on this amazing journey through life, from what I've learned, and I would be interested to know how you define success now as compared to as you were growing up.
Yeah. Especially with a 6-month-old, it's a lot more simplistic at the moment.
Yeah.
Good sleep. I think contentment is something that, I think is really important. I think we talk about happiness, but the more I've lived life, you know, the challenges come at you, and different experiences. So happiness, I don't think is attainable all the time, but I think you can be content with where you are, and feeling abundant is a really something that makes me feel content. So that would be success to me as well. And just a reminder that, how important family and friends are, and, you know, wherever you go in life, you just end up coming back. And again, when you go through those hard times, who are the people you talk to or you call, or that check in? And, you know, when Dad passed away, like my primary school friend called and made the trip down from Mildura to the funeral. And it's just those people and those connections are just, as you get older, you just show you how important they are and how special they are.
Beautifully said. Your greatest influence in your life to date, and why?
Greatest, like in terms of a person or just anything?
In anything.
I think it would be family. I think all of those things that you observe of your parents when you're not really even aware, like the fact that Dad worked a job, you know, full time and did overtime, and then he had this block that he was running. So on the weekends and after work, you know, he'd be out on the tractor, and Mum as well, you know, so that we would have extra money. And I just, all that hard work that I was sort of subtly observing, I think now helped me with my football, and, you know, hopefully continues to help me now in my coaching career and things like that, I think. And again, that resilience, you know, you're relying on the weather for your crop, and you just keep trying each year.
Can be brutal, can't it?
Yeah, so I think my family's been a huge influence.
Speaking of family, and it was a question that I was like, I don't really know how to ask it, because it's more so coming from naivety and definitely not a place of judgment, more just intrigue and interest. But, you know, I played with a teammate of mine who had 2 mums as his parents.
Yeah.
How do you navigate, I assume, particularly with a boy growing up, the conversations that may be left? Like, I think about some of the things that my wife discusses with our girls, and it's like, that is not in my wheelhouse. How do you navigate that as same-sex parents?
Yeah, I think it's something we've already thought about. Like we've got some beautiful brother-in-laws.
Yeah.
Danielle has 2 brothers and her dad. So I think
that's where it comes back to family, as you said.
Yeah, I think so. I think there'll be, really important people in River's life. Even if I had a male partner, they would be important people. But I think even more so, I remember hearing something recently where they say, obviously as women we role model emotions and we teach young girls that it's okay to have emotions. But for boys, I guess that's something that's not as common. And if it's only ever the mum reiterating the emotions and not the male figure, then it's kind of reinforcing that same sentiment that women have emotions and it's okay for females to have emotions but not boys. So that's something that, I'm really lucky. I have amazing brother-in-laws who, not that I'm going to chuck that responsibility on them to be like...
So if they're watching or listening, guess what? They're in for it.
But hopefully they, will have a really beautiful relationship as well.
I was always interested, so I thought I'd ask.
Yeah.
I didn't know whether to or not, so I hope you don't mind. No. The final question I love to ask on the podcast is, if you could go back to your 16-year-old self, what's one piece of advice you would give yourself to help you in the what's ahead?
Yeah, we're probably back to what we spoke about earlier in terms of that sexuality piece. I think just more broadly, it's just okay to be who you are. And I think I was very worried about sort of fitting in and being like everyone else. But just to say it's okay to be you and it's okay to, potentially want to be with another woman. I think that sexuality piece was probably something that got pushed down and denied. And I think that then didn't allow me to sort of fully accept who I was and really have confidence to be. So I think that would have helped.
Did that confidence, is that part of the confidence that you found from playing footy and so forth? So like, did you squash that part of you, even though you came out, I hate that term, but you shared truly who you were, even though that was previous to playing AFLW and realising this confidence can be both on the field and off the field? But is that what you squashed for that long?
Yeah, probably. And I think,
without really knowing you were doing it?
Yeah, and again, being down at Darebin where a lot of same-sex couples and, where you go from being in a minority to that was pretty much, nearly everyone. Yeah, and so to have such a safe and inclusive environment where I was like, of course you can be that, you can be anything. I think that, then also helped me to accept who I was. Yeah.
Well, Mel, it's been an absolute pleasure to have you on the podcast on Shaped. I've really enjoyed hearing more of your story. I appreciate your openness to share some of the intricacies with your journey so far, but those defining moments. So thank you very much. Love to see you again.
Yeah, same here. Thank you so much. And I didn't cry, so Daddy will be very surprised.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.